I am here with Tavon Mason, who is a former NFL player and now is doing some incredible things throughout the community, helping kids as well through his foundation. Tavon Mason Loves the Kids Foundation. So how are we doing, Tavon?
I'm doing good today, Iggy. How you doing today, man? I appreciate you getting me on to the show.
Absolutely. I'm doing great. Where are you where are you from? Where are you calling in from?
I'm actually calling in from Georgia. I'm born and raised in Baltimore, left for college, of course, and then came back home. And then we recently moved to Georgia back in June, me and the family.
Oh, good stuff. How's the weather out there? I'm curious out in Georgia.
Man, it's you love it because you have those warm times.
Mhm.
We hit a little cold front last week where it got down to, I guess to them it's cold, got down to like the 40s and the 50s.
Yeah.
But back up north, them 30s, a little different.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm glad I escaped that. My mom told me last week that it was gonna get down to the 30s, and I'll take the high 40s, low 50s any day instead of those brutal 30s.
Exactly. I'm from New Hampshire, so up
Okay.
in
Oh
the
yeah.
cold country. What's interesting is that 2 days ago it was like 28 degrees, and the past 2 days it's been like 60. And
Right. Right.
I'm like, what the heck is going on? But that's just New England type of weather for you.
Right. 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 And we got the same thing. It was 40s, 50s. I think the highest got was like low 60s, and then the last 2 days have been the low 70s.
Oh, that's funny.
Right. Right.
That's awesome. But I like to start off the show sort of overlooking some of your favorite parts of the year. We're
Mhm.
getting down to the last 2 months of 2021, a
Yeah.
little bit better than 2020. Obviously,
Yeah.
2020 was very restricted with COVID filled. But what has been some of the best moments of your year so far?
I think, and a lot of people probably can and attest to this if they're in that situation. I think just um, with the family and not really getting hit by the COVID or any illness. I mean, I don't want to just focus on the COVID. I know that's been the main thing, but there's still other illnesses out there. Of just
Mhm.
being pretty healthy and the move, making the move that we did. I was happy for that in the way we did it. Kind of like I always tell people, kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies. We loaded up the Penske truck, put the car in the rack. I drove down. My wife followed behind with the kids, and we got situated and got stable. Just to, we said it the other day, like, wow, like we really moved moved to Georgia. So
Right.
I would say that's like one of the top things. And the school where I'm working, I'm teaching at and coaching. Um, the school was created in 2014 called Academy for Classical Education. They didn't get a football team until 2 years after that, so 2016. They didn't really get into varsity play in 2017. So 4 years later, we finished 4-2 in our region, and we have a playoff berth this Saturday. So which is
Let's
pretty
go.
cool to be able to come straight down and be a part of that. So I'll say those things are like the grand for 2021,
Right.
especially like you said, Iggy, with how 2020 went.
Yeah, congratulations. That you must be wicked excited for this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, man, it's amazing, and especially being down, in the South where football, is huge. Once you
Mhm.
start hitting the South and going around to Texas up to California,
Right.
but also for it to be at a school that basically just started playing about 4 years ago
Right.
and went through bumps and bruises, and a predominantly baseball school, trying to navigate to find kids that really can play the game of football. So to be able to do that it's amazing, So yeah, like you said, I'm definitely excited about it.
Yeah, 100%. I played baseball all throughout my childhood, and I'll
Mhm.
never forget those moments when we played in the championship, especially like the
Yeah,
dog piles and all that sort of stuff. Those
yeah,
are
yeah.
always some of my fondest memories. But you brought up 2020, and one of your biggest things now in your post NFL career is helping out kids and helping out the community.
Yep.
So I was wondering, how did you overcome sort of the restrictions of COVID-19 in 2020 to still be able to fulfill one of your passions of your organization of helping out the community?
The hard thing that hit us hardest was our kind of like our top initiative is our annual character slipper drive.
Hmm.
So what we do is, Iggy, we started back in 2012, of collecting slippers. So my kind of like my president underneath of me, Melissa Brown, she, asked me like, where do we want to start at? Where do you want to start at? And I was like, well, I reached out to the University of Maryland Children's Hospital, and I wanted to do reading at first, a reading tour with them, but the doctor who had started the reading left the hospital, so it kind of like tanked out. So she called the children's hospital there and got a list of a wish list. And when she was running down the wish list, slippers popped up. And like that's different, a lot of people do turkeys for Thanksgiving. A lot of people do shoe drives, clothes drives. So I like, let's do the slipper drive. So that was our biggest kickoff initiative. And we were able to, in 2020, to get to 2 children's hospitals. But some of the ones we had on a calendar date, I was super excited about. We were finally able to get the Shriner Hospital on, and I know everybody see that on the commercials to the main one in Philly. I was like super excited, but that kind of shut down. But one thing I was able to do that I would do every year with either the women and children's shelter or the men's shelter, I still was able to do something for kind of like a soup kitchen almost, kind of, so to speak, called Franciscan Center. I was able to do a washcloth and sock drive, and people donated, whether it was money or they donated, I would go pick it up, and I was able to drop it off. And they gave me a tour of the facility, and we collected over, I want to say, 1,000 pairs of socks and over 500 washcloths that we were able to give out for the people who they service. So we found ways to snake around. Some of our initiatives had to be put on hold. Our healthy snack drive, which we will always do for Camp St. Vincent de Paul, which catered to children in the Baltimore area that live in transitional homes and shelters. And we would collect healthy snacks to fill up their pantry. So I was kind of saddened by that, but we were still able to do something to help out, which was pretty cool. I took advantage of the technology, and I held a Facebook Live reading date on Facebook Live and Instagram of my own children's book, at least to try to do something to get the kids, out and from the video games into looking and doing a reading part. So you have to be creative with it because you still want to help, but you also understand the protocols and everything.
Right, exactly. That's amazing. And I read also that with the slipper drive, over the last few years that you've done it, you've been able to donate or get thousands of slippers for different families and kids at local hospitals.
Yeah, it's crazy because we started off with one hospital, which was the University of Maryland Children's Hospital. One of the biggest plus sides with that, where we were able to get a gift card from Giant grocery store, and we were able to feed the parents. For any of the callers who are watching and will be watching or listen to this. So at the University of Maryland Children's Hospital, the Children's Hospital part is on the other side of the hospital, which is away from the cafeteria. So by the time parents want something to eat, then that cafeteria will be closed. And I know parents don't want to leave the sides of their children, especially, being in that situation. Right. So it wouldn't have nothing to eat, or they would have to run out real quick and come back. So what we did, we were able to get a gift card. We bought like sandwich trays, drinks, and had a small room where we were able to put it there where the parents didn't have to go far to get food. So we started with one children's hospital, and right before the pandemic, we were up to 9 children's hospitals, 3 outside of the state of Maryland. So we went to Norfolk, Virginia, to the Children's Hospital, the King's Daughter. I started visiting the University of Virginia Children's Hospital where I went to school, and we started visiting the Ronald McDonald House on New Hyde Park in Long Island, where I was with the Jets before the Jets moved to New Jersey. So that was like real. That was like major, to be able to drive up there. So my wife and I, we packed up. When we go to the New York one, we packed up like 4 trash bags, probably like over 300 pairs of slippers. We packed up and drove up, and we sat there and we would set them up on a table, and we would have families come over and ask about slippers. And the cool thing to me was being able to connect with different cultures. You know,
Right.
some of the families there didn't even speak English, but
Wow.
you know, they were so happy that we was able to get them slippers, and we also gave slippers to their siblings. So if they had a
Hmm.
little brother there, they can get them. You know,
Hmm.
moms and dads can get them if they have them. So you know, that was like my biggest thing with doing the foundation is I always wanted to give back, but how to do it. And you know, when we would go, if we have excess slippers, we'd tell them you can guys can have it. You know, I don't want them. You guys, I bought them got for you guys. I know you have
Right.
more families and kids that come in.
That's amazing, man. And especially how you really thought about how you could it also impact the parents as well,
Yeah.
and thought strategically about how you could help everybody. That's really amazing. And I'm curious, what were some of the best reactions that you got from either some of the parents or some of the kids through these different initiatives?
It's always great reactions, but I know one that stuck out to me the most was I want to say my fourth visit to University of Maryland Children's Hospital, and this time we partnered with a local subway back home. And as we were going around to visit the different rooms for the kids, um, one of the rooms was a grandmother. Her granddaughter wasn't doing too well, and she was young, school age. And before I can even say who I was or why we were there for, myself and my team, she just came out and gave me a hug and started crying on my shoulder. So that moment made me scale back and not take a lot of stuff for granted because
Right.
you never know. So when we would visit the children's hospitals, that would be my self check. And
Hmm.
what I mean by self check of griping and complaining about having to get up early in the morning. I
Yeah.
mean, I still might have moments now, but I don't do it as much as I did before.
Yeah.
Griping of not having this or complaining about that, where you know you have these first graders, kindergartens, some to even newborns who haven't even left the hospital yet. You know, been there for months. So I had to check myself when I got to that complaint stage because you have these different individuals who are sitting there watching their young granddaughter, grandson, daughter or son going through this. So
Yeah, that's huge, man. That whole perspective, that's something that I've tried to work on with myself a lot,
yeah,
especially when thinking about, oh, I have to go to a job. Oh, I have
yeah,
to drive and use my car and go to a job. No,
right,
you get to go and
yeah,
drive
right,
to the job. Like you get to go and use your car, like, and you get to have a phone. You know what I mean? All these
right,
people who just usually take it for granted without even thinking about it,
yeah,
because America is so privileged, and
yeah,
we don't take time to fully realize
right,
what other countries are dealing with, what other people are dealing with. But
yeah,
that's really amazing, man. And I think it's really cool as well how you were able to utilize technology as well through promoting your fundamental reading awareness
yeah,
through your summer reading program. And you brought up your book as well. I read that your book promotes showing kindness to one another, carrying
mhm,
oneself with respect, and being a good sport on both on and off the field. So talk a little
right.
bit about your book and how you came up and what inspired you to write that.
Yeah, so my first children's book, Tavon Does It All, actually came about. I met a good friend, Ashley Chesney, over Instagram. She started following my foundation Instagram page, and through us talking, she asked have I ever wrote a children's book, and I said I wanted to, but I never knew the cost of it. So once I
Hmm.
found the cost out, she said, you know what, I'm just going on a limb and do an independent company, and she signed me as an independent author. So we co-wrote Tavon Does It All, and it was just one taking the whole dumb jock thing out. I mean, it's more to in the story Tavon than playing football, and his teammates will find out like, wow, he collects slippers for children's hospitals. He loved reading, he loved getting good grades. Um, if you look on the front cover, so I wanted to make it truthful, but also put that fantasy in there because the whole kid's attention. So that's why you see the on the front cover, the storybook is alive, the report card
Hmm.
is alive, the slippers are alive. I wanted to do that to give that feel of to let people know that it's more to football people than it is just playing a game, whether it's
Right.
that basketball, baseball, any type of sport. But also, and once you read the story, you'll see my teammates look at themselves like, only thing I do is play football. And
Mhm.
then, until I say, well, come along with me, you can see if you like the things I like. So also to promote helping each other, that unity factor, that's out there. So, we did that, added the coloring book in the back of the book, for the kids. And recently I partnered with my good friend and another philanthropist from Baltimore, Joe Gamble, who played in NFL as well. And we joint wrote the Justice Duo, and we wrote the
Love it.
Justice Duo to promote representation. So, you could see more African American superheroes in comic book, but made it a diverse
Sure.
comic book. So you see all cultures, all races in the book.
Mhm.
So, a lot of the kids that not are able to get to comic books or books in general in certain locations, if they get it, they get their hands on it, they can see it. So another step we took further of um, getting businesses who will buy the books so we can go into urban areas or low income areas and actually give the books away free. So we
Wow,
have
that's cool.
company and team and friends who will purchase book like 100 copies, and we'll take
Mhm.
them in and give them away so the kids can have them.
I love it. That's really cool, man. I think that's something that is huge for people to realize. What you do for a job, whatever sport that you play, doesn't define who you are.
Right,
It's all
right,
about, what are you going to be remembered for? What's your legacy
right.
going to be? How are you able to help the person next to you? How are you able to inspire and
Yeah,
help people in the community like you've been doing, which is really incredible, with especially things within people's childhoods of
yeah,
reading. I think that's a huge subject that needs to be promoted a lot more positively.
yeah,
We see a lot of things promoting social media, promoting watching TV, watching or playing video games, which is all great for kids to do for extracurricular things, but at the
right.
same time, reading really helps kids build up that knowledge and
Yeah,
help them be able to expand their minds as well. And
yeah,
I also read that you do a lot of speeches around different community areas as
yeah.
well as schools. So, what advice or message do you try to instill within the kids?
And what you see on the inside of and it is based like a logo that I came up with for my organization, and it's in the inside cover of my book, Tavon Does It All. Dare to be great. It's simple, but I thought it drove right home. Dare to be great. The
Mhm.
reason why I said that, because a lot of times, and especially now, a lot of our young kids, our youth, if they come up and say, "Hey, I want to be president, I want to do this, I want to do that," immediately somebody is there to shoot them down.
Right.
They don't have to be family. It can just be somebody, a so-called friend, a classmate, or somebody in their neighborhood that's quick to shut them down or shoot them down or shut them out. And
Yeah,
that
but
plays
yeah,
on their
right. You can
mind
do
state.
that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that plays on the mind state of,
Yeah.
well, I can't do that. Or, working in education, sometimes I hear kids say, well, I'm just dumb anyway. And I don't like hearing that, because, that leads to the next thing of, well, I'm not going to do nothing anyway. So let me go over here and do this thing, which
Hmm.
isn't right for me. So I just started saying dare to be great. And then when I elaborate on it is, shoot for the stars or go beyond that. I mean, always dare to be greater than your parents, dare to be greater than your friends. If it's something that you really want to do, and I know it sounds cliche because, athletes or anybody that speak, they say it, but I really like drove it home because I thought about my own situation of, growing up in Baltimore and wanting a dream of playing in NFL, um, and wanting to get there, and I was able to get there. And I felt like it was my job to say it back to the kids,
Hmm.
of being a voice, a positive voice, through some of the negativity and what our youth go through, adult stuff, which is sad and it's crazy. They go through adult issues that you and I should be going through. They're going through in this time of age, which is tough. So I just push them dare to be great. And I tell them, if it's you want to be an author, be an author.
Hmm.
I never thought I'd be an author, and I've written what, 3 books,
Yeah.
and I have one that I just gotta get edited. But it's able to be done. It's us as adults, especially us as um, athletes, we have to be that voice for our kids. But also, I think a big thing with me and how I always came off, Iggy, was being touchable, because a lot of times, and I understand as professional athletes, especially when you're high up the ladder, a lot of times you just want to get in and get out. You want to give time. But the one thing that I found out of being with the Jets was, you know, fans come out to see us. If it wasn't for them,
Yep.
we wouldn't be able to be in the stadium. So I
Mhm.
had one family that the young boy, I don't even know, I'm not gonna say I don't know why, but at that time I didn't know why he liked me. I'm on a team with Wayne Corbett, Santana Moss,
Mhm.
um, Curtis Martin, all those big names. Like, why did you pick me to want to come watch me warm up?
Right.
And then one day after practice, Coach Herm Edwards gave us off. I literally sat outside of where we stayed at with them for 2 hours straight. You know, and I told him, I was like, no, I don't mind doing it. I like, because if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't wear this uniform. I wouldn't have trading cards because you invested in your time in me. So
Mhm.
uh, that's my biggest thing, is just dare to be great. Whatever it is that you want to do, push it, push hard, push the limit, but do it 100%. So you
Right.
never say what if. That's my biggest thing. Also, never say what if.
I love it, man. That's also a huge mindset as well as an athlete, because
Yeah,
so many times professional athletes get these big heads and don't fully
yeah,
realize how much the fans idolize them and marvel
right.
them as well. And something that I heard in a Jay Shetty podcast with the rapper artist Russ, he was asking him, what's the best advice you've ever received and what's the worst advice you've ever received? The best advice was everything is possible. The worst advice is be realistic. And
Yeah,
I think that's huge. And anytime
yeah,
now when I talk about my goals, it's I have done this. I will
right,
do this. I
right,
am this. And in talking about it like that, and not, I
right.
hope this will happen, believing in it so much and realizing that it will happen. And
Yeah,
I think that's just a huge mindset, not only for people like myself, kids as well. That's
yeah,
ginormous, because so many times kids allow their parents to sort of dictate their thoughts,
yeah,
dictate their decisions, dictate sort of their trajectory of what they can and are able to do. And
yeah,
I think that's huge, man. And
yeah.
so for people who have a passion and want to give back to the community, but don't really know how, what advice would you have for those people?
I tell them go out there and do something. You know, because I had people that would send me messages once I started my foundation, and they would ask me how do I do it. I was like, get out, pick something, and do it, and then see what piques your interest.
Mm-hmm.
Because me, I knew I wanted to do something with helping children or giving back to my community of Baltimore, then which luckily I was able to expand outside of Baltimore and the state of my city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. But then it's like what it is that you want to do, because everybody can't be on the forefront. It's a lot of work. You know what I mean? It's a lot of work of pulling yourself, giving yourself, you gotta know how to balancing the yeses and the nos, because you can
Right.
wear yourself out as well. I reached that point at one point where I had Bell's palsy, where like the left side of my face stopped working, and come to find out it can come from stress. But I was
Mm-hmm.
always saying yes all the time, and I was pulling myself everywhere. So I always tell people, if it's something, start out something small, get out there and give your time, and then the next thing, do something else, you know, and then keep building on it, keep building on it, you know. And I know a lot of people say, well, you started in NFL, you played in NFL, so it's an easy access. Not always, because people want to know not only just your title, but are you really behind what you're preaching? So you
Mm-hmm.
got to be out there. So that's why, like I said, being that touchable person, being in neighborhoods and communities and actually out there throwing the ball with the kids. Or when I'm going to give my books, I'm not just say, hey, how y'all doing? Thank y'all for coming. Say a spit a few words. Okay, I'll see y'all later, and roll out.
Mm-hmm.
No, hang around and really talk to the kids, talk to the adults as well. Because
Right.
believe it or not, a lot of the parents who have came out when I was speaking or doing something, they need that reassurance as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's tough as an adult. So, you know, even them, they want the to get some of that affirmation, that motivation, not only the kids. So and that'll help them see stuff different as well. So I just tell people, you know, just find something and go do it. You know, you know, whether it's giving money, whether it's you bagging up some clothes and giving, that's helping. You know, when you bag up clothes and give away, that's helping. That's actually doing something. You know, so I say start there.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's great advice. And
Yeah,
just the last few things that I just wanted to ask you about was
yeah,
sort of your time through that after or post draft experience of being an
yeah,
undrafted free agent. And I read that you missed a call from the Eagles
yeah.
and you were frantically trying to get back in contact with them. Explain that a little bit.
So not really have the agent I had at the time wasn't a true solid agent. He had two huge guys before me, so he kind of can bank on those guys, first rounder and second rounders, and I was a free agent guy. I don't really think he sold me as a specialist like he should have, because
Mhm.
when I came out, NFL was looking for your bigger and taller receivers, your 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" receivers.
Right.
I think Santana was the exception the year before because of how well he was used at University of Miami as being a returner, but also as a receiver. Um, so, no one told me, hey, make sure you answer every call. So when the phone rang, it said unavailable. So in my mind, I'm thinking it's friends, family calling, oh man, don't worry about it. I just didn't want to hear that at that time.
Right.
So I let the call go. And then I had got a message from my agent that the Jets were interested. When I listened to the voicemail, it was the Eagles. I tried to call back. The line was busy. And now that I know after the draft, guys they had on that board, they're trying to call out. So if
Mhm.
you don't answer the boom, they on to the next one. And I
Right.
just missed it. And I believe that would have been a better situation because at that time in 2002, Brian Mitchell had just retired
Mhm.
and he was their kick returner. And that would have been like a perfect setup for me. But God had a different plan. I still was able to go up to New York, um, to the Jets, and had a great time with it. But I do not as much now. But before I was kicking myself in the butt for missing that call in Philly, just to get the opportunity to kick return.
Makes sense. Yeah, I read that and chuckled a little bit of you know,
Yeah,
but I could imagine you just frantically being like, oh my God, let me try and call them
yeah,
back.
yeah,
But you mentioned earlier that you had some experiences with Curtis Martin as well as
yeah,
Santana Moss. Explain
yep.
those experiences a little bit.
Man, when you getting on those levels, no matter what sport it is, especially being a free agent, you assume that guys will be like we said earlier, big headed, but was a great guy. Curtis Martin was like a great guy, would talk to you. This dude done broke all kinds of records, but he talked to you as if you were average Joe, like he's an average Joe on the street. We're like, no, dude, you Curtis Martin. Same with Richie Anderson. Richie Anderson is from Maryland, so I did his camp um, down in Montgomery County, and he offered to let me stay at his house. Offered to let me stay at his house because it was like a long drive back to Baltimore. My second year with the Jets, go around with the Jets in 2003 was when they had the big blackout in New York, and they wouldn't allow us to stay at that time. Our training facility was in the middle of Hofstra's campus.
Mhm.
So they wouldn't allow us to stay on Hofstra campus because the the doors wasn't working. They didn't want us, especially being in the NFL, to be there because we don't know what's going to happen. And
Right.
Santana Moss opened his doors up to allow me to stay in his house with him and his family for that night until everything came back on the next day. But great guys. No one had big heads. Vinny Testaverde, this guy's locker was two lockers away from me. When I was 7 years old in '87, he wins the Heisman Trophy. He wins the Heisman Trophy. This guy's sitting right next to me. But again, another nice guy. Will come speak to you. Wayne Corbet's another guy. So I was blessed to be able to be on a team where it had guys that didn't have those egos. You probably had in other teams, but didn't have those egos. Would talk to you like you're a regular guy. I had, a Hall of Famer, um, Kevin Mawai, like on a
Wow.
Sunday. He was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Nothing. Gonna go to breakfast." I'm like, "Who, me?" Like you Kevin Mawai, you all pro, center. And took me to breakfast with him and his minister. And it was great, man. And and gave me advice. He was like, "Hey, you doing it the right way." I had a 1990 Honda Accord. He said you're not running out here buying high priced cars. He was like, when I came in the league, even though I was drafted in the first round, I had a 1991 Honda Civic hatchback. My wife had to make me buy something. He said, so just stay that way, stay humble. And I remember to this day, I tell people in interviews all the time, he ain't had to, I'm a snot-nosed rookie, and hey, you got this all-pro center, and he invited me out to breakfast with him. I remember that Sunday morning, and I always remember it, so I felt happy for him when that post on Twitter came about him making it to the Hall of Fame.
That's really cool. And I got a 2008 Honda Civic. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. People
Right.
are like, you're still driving that thing? I'm like, hey, it's got great gas mileage. I got like 230,000 miles on it. But
Right.
if I just do the oil change, you'll be able to go until 300,000.
Exactly. And for him to say that, because I've saw friends and guys who were free agents that automatically went out and started buying a lot of things. And he was like, no, just do it the same way. He said, I know it's enticing because you see the different cars in the parking lot. He said, but he said, just keep doing it the way you're doing it, and it will come. But yeah, it was a great atmosphere. Coach Herm Edwards was a great guy. With him being a free agent in the NFL, it gave guys like me, it made it that much reachable because he understood, the grind of being a free agent and how you're trying to bust your butt to get on the field. And he was another approachable coach who would sit there and talk to you. So in my experience was great. I definitely give it a 2 thumbs up.
That's amazing, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story today, Tavon, as well as explain some of the incredible things that you've done throughout the community with your foundation. And for people who want to check out your foundation, support everything that you're doing, follow your story as well and yourself, where can they find you?
Definitely, like you said earlier, Iggy, they can go to www.tavonmasonlovesthekids.org. On that website, you'll see what we do in the community. You'll see pictures, you'll see videos, a donate button. You also can find my books, all 3 books. I did an ebook as well, a 60-a-day promise, to get families working out together. So if you click on the book tab, you find all 3 books. Tavon Does It All, The Justice Duo. Also, what we added on there for Tavon Does It All, I got the actual printable coloring sheets. So if you want to click on it, they can print them off in color. Everything is on that website, and also, Tavon Mason Loves the Kids on Instagram, TMLTKF on Twitter, T Mason 18 on Twitter, Mr. _T Mason on Instagram. And the same thing with Facebook. But I always tell people, go to the website, because I know it's tough. I know you have some people who do take advantage of kind people, but I tell them, go to my website and see for yourself. And anything that I get goes right back out. I actually will be going home in December, and I'm actually partnering with Woodlawn High School alum of mine, Courtney Robinson, and we're going to partner together, go to the Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital I will visit regularly on my slipper drive, and we're going to collaborate and do a pajama and slipper drive to drop off there for the kids there. So, so everything you can find right on their website.
I love it, man. Everybody go and check that out. And right after we get off of this call, I'm gonna go on the website and donate, because some of the stuff that you're doing is amazing. I feel like a lot of people are gonna watch this and look at themselves and say, how can I go out and help the community? How can I go out and help my neighbors? And it's really amazing what you're doing, man. Definitely stay in touch. I want to do everything that I can to help you continue to help the community, continue to spread your message as well, because I think nothing's better than instilling these types of life lessons into the younger generation.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. And definitely, we're going to definitely stay in contact together.
Perfect. Appreciate it, man.